Sometimes the hardest part isn't starting. It's hard, but sometimes the hardest part is actually learning to stay before your external reality catches up with the changes that you're trying to make. When you start to make changes and you finally work up the courage to embrace something new, you get to a point where your old life doesn't really fit anymore, but your new life hasn't actually started or caught up with the changes that you're making. And that's what you so often hear called the messy middle. Hi, I'm Sonia, and I am actively learning to act before I'm ready and to stay in the discomfort just a little bit longer, really learning to stay. And if you're on this journey too, then I welcome you. And I talked about in my last videos, the awareness of wanting to change and then actually aligning your actions and starting to implement those changes and move forward in a new way. And I promised I would talk about the messy middle and focus a bit more on what it actually feels like to be in that space. Because I think the concept is coming up more and more, especially in entrepreneurial spaces or like identity shift spaces where, oftentimes changes start first internally. So they start with a decision, they start with choosing differently, they kind of start in here. And you have to align yourself to then externally start to choose and move in a different way. But sometimes you don't immediately get, not sometimes, I feel like it's most of the time, the external validation that you're looking for that you made the right choice, or that you're moving in the right direction. And sometimes you're in between realities. And it's a very uncomfortable feeling. And it can feel lonely and it can feel empty. And I think it's really important if you're in that phase, that season, that you realize you're not alone and that you realize it's okay that it feels hard and it feels a little uncomfortable. Because choosing to show up differently in itself, like starting is difficult, but then staying when nothing really feels like it's working out, and you don't really have anything that celebrates you other than your internal trust and faith that it's going to work out, can cause you to want to maybe backtrack and make you think that, you know what, maybe this isn't working. Maybe it wasn't the right decision. Maybe I just have to kind of go back to what I know was working. And that's where the whole challenge comes in. And it's so funny because I feel like it's repetitive, but it's very in alignment with the season that I am personally in and what I've been experiencing is like learning to stay and learning to regulate your way through that experience and recognizing, you know what, you're not actually alone. A lot of people that have made really big shifts and leaps and changes in their lives have gone through the exact feeling and moment that you're in, and they made it to the other side. And they only made it to the other side because they didn't stop. And honestly, it sounds so simple in theory, but it's really difficult in practice, especially if you're someone like me who was traditionally driven by discipline, by hyper independence, by overachieving, and thrives in an execution space. I really thrive when I know that I'm executing something and I can see the results of all of my hard work. But I've started and stopped several things in my life, and it's kind of the whole joke of like, I was today years old when I realized if I just kept going, I would have been so much further. And my biggest kind of success story of that, and I reference it a lot because it's my anchor point and proof point of like, you've done it once, you can do it again. And I apply it to different areas of my life is again through fitness and weight loss. And I was very unhappy and uncomfortable in my own skin for a very long time. And I started and stopped fitness programs for, I kid you not, probably 10 years. And I would start really aggressively and focus on trying to shift everything overnight. I wouldn't be getting the results that I wanted as quickly as I wanted. And I wasn't taking the time to actually build the behaviors and habits and identity that I needed to embrace to actually stick with the changes. So I would stop and I would go backwards. And I would think, you know what, this isn't just for me. And it wasn't until it's about 8 years ago now that I finally made a lasting change. And I'll talk about that whole journey, I think, in a separate video because I learned so much from that experience. But when I started again, I started smaller and I just kept going. I didn't stop. And that's where that cycle that, again, I've talked about in a lot of the videos comes in. You act, you start, eventually you start to get some sort of result that feels good of like, oh, I actually woke up and I had a bit more energy today. Or you know what, I maybe see a little muscle showing, whatever it is. And then you find motivation to keep going. And then the people that you need to kind of support you with where you are in that journey will come into your life. So that's kind of one example. But again, 10 years it took me. And some people, can do it overnight. Some people, it takes them years. Some people never start or stop. So you can never really compare yourself. But I think getting honest with yourself, of like maybe needing to learn that skill of staying a little longer is definitely one that's beneficial. And I've also started and stopped several side hustles, business ideas. I've dabbled in the fitness space, in the coaching spaces, in kind of product spaces. And the reality is like, you might start posting, or you might apply for that job you've always dreamed of, or you're going to start your healing journey and you're going to decide that you're finally going to start putting up boundaries, or you're finally going to start saying no. Or what I've been recently going through and as uncomfortable as you're going to start choosing yourself. And I need you to know that that's not always going to be comfortable. It's not always going to feel good. And it's not always going to get you the results, at least that you think you want. And it will give you the results and the experiences that you need to continue moving forward and to solidify the identity and behaviors that you need to maintain those boundaries, to keep choosing yourself, to show up differently. And the skill set is never lost. It's always good experience, and it's always a skill set that will benefit you in some way along your journey, but it's not going to feel good. And I think it's especially hard in situations where inherently there's like nothing wrong with your old life, your old identity. You have wonderful friends, you have a wonderful partner, maybe you have a pretty good job. Like, I think we often get stuck in that place of it's good enough. But if it's not in alignment with what you want and who you want to be, you have to learn to choose differently. And you have to choose differently before your reality matches where you want to go. And then you have to sit in that discomfort a little bit longer because you're like, okay, I chose differently. And here I am. I'm by myself. I'm lonely. It might feel a little bit empty, or I don't feel like anyone really sees or understands me. But that's okay, because if you stick through that and you kind of breathe and regulate your way through that and you keep going, then the external reality is bound to catch up with you. And again, fitness is just such a beautiful example of that. If you keep in alignment with your plan and you move your body in a meaningful and intentional way, and you eat in a meaningful and intentional way, and you trust the process or the people that are guiding and supporting you through that transition, you will see the results and you will get what you're looking for. And it's the same thing if you want to start a channel, or you want to start posting more, or you want to sell, bracelets that you've been making. If you keep making them and you make them from a genuine place of believing like, I love this and I know I can build something from this, the results will come. You just have to sit in that space a little longer, where it might feel lonely or it might feel like nothing's working. And you hear about these stories all the time. And I think it's really easy to intellectualize them because, again, in theory, your logic brain will realize it makes sense. And you're probably listening like, oh, yeah, it's so obvious. It is obvious. It really does make a lot of sense. And you can think your way through it. But thinking your way through it and feeling your way through that experience and staying in that experience when it does get hard, when things aren't matching, when everything in your body is telling you it's not worth it and you should quit and just go back to what's comfortable and what does work. Like, hey, maybe it's not perfect and it's not what I want, but it's working. It's good enough. You need to push past that. And you need to stay committed to your vision and what it is that you really want. And from there, you're actually going to become that person and it's going to come into fruition. And honestly, I so genuinely and deeply believe that. But I will say, I am someone that is still very much so in the middle. I feel misaligned with a lot of things in my life, whether it's my current career path, whether it's some of the connections that I have, the hobbies that I have, the things that I enjoy like doing, the type of partnership or connections that I'm looking for, like what I want and what I want to build doesn't match what I've been choosing and where I currently am. So I'm learning to choose differently and I'm learning to show up. And this channel is a really perfect example of that. I've wanted to do this for years. I've told myself that I was going to do this for years, but I stopped. And I stopped earlier on in the process. Like I kept getting further and further and further along slowly, but I would stop very early in the process. At first it was like, you don't really have a concept. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wanted to share this journey. I wanted to share this experience. I wanted to help people that are struggling and going through this and help them know that A, they're not alone and B, they can make it to the other side. Then I would actually record videos and I would watch them and I wouldn't like them. So I wouldn't post them. Then I would record and I would upload them to my computer and I'd make a pretty thumbnail and I was like, nope, not ready. And it wasn't until recently that I actually hit the trigger button and I posted. And the first video I posted privately and I sent a link to 3 people I trusted that I knew would be supportive of me starting this journey. And none of them were close friends. None of them were people that I've known a very long time. And it's not because I don't have close friends and I don't trust them. I have beautiful, wonderful people in my life, but I was doing something new. I was stepping into an identity, into a place where I haven't been before. And I wanted it to be filtered through the light of people that expand, that have been there, that have gone through it, that know what it feels like, that would encourage me to keep going. And that's who I sent it to. And they encouraged me to keep going. And I think, from what I've been talking through, like a few themes again come up of start before you're ready. And if you can't start the full thing, like if you can't start the fitness program, if you can't start posting, start really small. Jot down a few lines of what the concept is, research a gym in your area, and then just keep starting and keep going. And then when it gets uncomfortable, when it feels hard, when people around you might be telling you, you know what, it's too hard, it's too much, just why do you want life to be difficult? Ignore it and keep going. When it feels like you're alone on an island and you feel a little bit confused or things feel a little empty because it doesn't really match where it is that you want to go, it's okay. Slow down, breathe through it, reconnect with yourself, reconnect with why you're doing it, and keep going. And share your experience and your journey with people that are going to expand you. I think one of the classic sayings is, and the one that I'll leave you with is like, no one that's done it or that's doing it is going to make fun of you. So no person that has started a YouTube channel is going to make fun of you for starting a YouTube channel. No person that started sharing their journey on social media is going to make fun of you for starting. No one that has gone through a fitness or a health transformation is going to make fun of you. It's the people that haven't done it, that haven't experienced and that haven't pushed through the discomfort, haven't found the courage, haven't found the vulnerability to do something new and to be bad at it and to have to keep doing it to get better at it. Those are the people that might not support you or might not understand you and might make you feel like you're alone, but you're not. You're really not, I promise you. So let me know. Let me know if you're in the messy middle. Let me know if you're in the in between. And let me know what it's felt like to get started or what it's felt like to learn to stay. Or if you haven't learned to stay, maybe, you can stay just a little bit longer, 60 seconds, and let me know what that feels like. I appreciate you. Like I always say, you're not alone in this journey. Thank you for watching, and we will see each other very soon.